It's another alien abduction. Well, this time at least, I'm going peacefully. And willingly, because I'm curious which planet they're taking me to next. So can you tell me at least which planet we're going to? What's our destination? Tartu? What do you mean Tartu? R2-D2. Did you say Tartu? Okay, lead the way. Okay, I think I know the way. This is the way to the train station, isn't it? Ah, well, at least I've got company. And there we are. It was just a dream. Must have fallen asleep on the train. No alien abduction. Here we are in Tartu. And right there next to the train station is a building with a big sign on it saying hostel. I'm thinking that is Vaksali 4 hostel. I don't know if it's still operating, but very convenient if you're arriving in Tartu with the train, or if you're needing accommodation for an early departure from Tartu train station. And there's another hostel not far away called Academia or Academic Hostel. But although there are lots of hostels listed as existing in Tartu, in practice I don't see too many actually opened for business online. Some of them, of course, like the Academia hostel, I suspect, are actually summer-only hostels where rooms which are otherwise used by university students during the academic year, they're on holidays, so the rooms are vacant. July and August, the accommodation gets turned into a hostel. Now I'm heading towards the vicinity of another hostel, the third hostel I can name for you. That one's called Looming, and that one I did look online just randomly for last night how much it would have cost, and yeah, astonishing. I thought there must have been an error, but there was no mistaking it. Cross the road with care. Thank you. Yes, back to the looming hostel price. Hold your breath. €21 for a dorm bed. And that was just a ladies' dorm. So if you wanted to stay in a male dorm or mixed dorm, if there was a bed available, I think the cheapest price outside of the ladies' dorm was going to be €28, which, yeah, is a little steep, I think. I'm just consulting my map here, which is a little bit out of date, but I found it hanging around in the hostel, of course, like everything else. Yeah, no road sign back there. I think I need to go down either the next left or the next left. Yes, back to those hostel prices. Hostel Looming was offering dorm beds double, if not triple, the cost of equivalent dorm beds in Tallinn and Riga and Pärnu. So maybe it was just a one-off, you know, to be fair. Maybe there was something incredibly special going on in Tartu. So would that validate the price? You know, would it therefore be acceptable for them to charge that much? I really don't know. Business is business, as we say, but not for me. Another good reason to make this a day trip. Now, most people will not be coming here with the train, I have to admit. They'll be arriving in the town centre with the sorry, I'm just checking the street names again. Vanamuse. Yeah, I can go down here. Just a little bit. Yeah, most people will not be arriving at the train station, but it suited me, as I've already gone into. Covered the facts why the train's superior to their bus, in my opinion, on this occasion. And there will be some people who'd like to mix things up a little bit, perhaps because they want to leave on a train early in the morning, and a hostel as close as possible to the train station suits them perfectly. Whereas some people are perhaps travelling with heavy luggage and they want to just quickly arrive in Tartu for 1 or 2 nights, be as close as possible to a central accommodation, dump the luggage and go out and about and do all the touristic things. And they'll also be, as it happens, catching a bus for their onward journey when they depart the city. So, depending on what your needs actually might be, you know, there's different opportunities available. As I say, I'm arriving and departing with the train today. I've got plenty of time, hopefully, to see what I want to see and do. But I've been talking to some folks, and apparently the attraction of Tartu really is intangible. That's the best way to describe it, I think. Intangible because it's all about the atmosphere, allegedly. It's about the atmosphere over the things that you can see and do. I mean, to be fair, I've already seen some rather interesting architecture here, which I'm rather liking. Not least of which is this kooky door. That's cute. So, yeah, it's a bit of a strange one for me, this. I do understand when people say it's the atmosphere of a place, of course. We all can feel that sometimes about different places. I feel it certainly in Pärnu, here in Estonia, and I felt it in the past in Viana del Castello, in Portugal. I felt it in Taormina, in Sicilia, Italy, and also in a fun, funky way in the new town in Dresden in Germany. There's a few places which spring to mind. And yeah, you can go into a bit more detail with all those places, why they've got a special atmosphere for you, or for me, I should say. With Tartu, it's more a case of I couldn't get to the bottom of what it was which creates this intangible atmosphere and allure for so many people. Plenty of backpackers love it. Plenty of people who are Estonians love Tartu. And certainly, if you come at the right time of year, I'm sure you won't be disappointed. But when is that right time of year? This is a big university city. It's the second largest city in the country, as you may know. And it also happens to be very proud of its 400-year-old university, which is ranked by the people who know these things as being in the top handful of universities in the world. Yes, you heard that right. It's not a boast of mine. I'm just telling you what I've heard, what I've read in from more than one source. So you just got to scratch your head and think, wow, that's impressive. I bet Tallinn University hates them in the most friendly, competitive way. I say that, of course. Now, where are we here? I'm faced with Hector Design Hostels. Straight across the road. I've never heard of that one, but there's an opportunity for some folks, if they should happen to be interested. I say this possibly only for science fiction fans, science fiction television fans in particular. I don't know if you're already thinking of the show I'm thinking of. Perhaps you've seen the reruns. Maybe you're old enough to remember the originals from back in the 60s. Time Tunnel. Spooky. There she blows. Now, by anybody's estimation, I would say that that Hector Design Hostel is one mother and father of a building. If that's all one huge hostel complex, then interesting. But again, times change, you know, and the sign could be old. I'm seeing some other business sign in one window, for example. But equally, it could actually be a real hostel. But how on earth could it operate on such a scale, you ask? Yeah, that's what I was thinking. But anyway, not going over to investigate the interior You know, sometimes I do things like that, go into ask prices perhaps if I haven't booked accommodation already, or if I'm thinking of moving to a different hostel in the same town. Like to take an opportunity to look around at whether there are richer pickings just around the corner, so to speak. But not on this occasion. If I had been coming to Tartu and wanting to stay overnight or for several nights, then given the number of hostels which, as I say, I've seen listed with tourist information in Tallinn, and yet they're not making the beds available online, yeah, it could be that Tartu is the kind of place where you really need to do a bit of footwork and go round to some of these places. Or if you can locate a phone number, of course, ring them up. And if you can communicate in a shared language, then you could do a bit of wheeler dealing. And you never know what you're going to find as a result. My goodness, look at that. Yes, you might get a good deal over the phone or in person. But quite literally, my breath's been taken away rather by the sight of this structure. Wow. Excuse me. Got something caught in my throat, I think. Thankfully, the metaphoric frog in my throat has cleared. And I'm still left a little bit breathless by this church. Wow. What I mean, I don't know these things. I keep saying I haven't studied architecture. I don't know what I'm looking at much of the time. To me, this screams of Art Deco. And yet I think I read this one is something like a 14th century church originally, or maybe even a little earlier. But after some Second World War damage in particular, it needed to be rebuilt. For those interested enough, check it out online. St. Paul's Church, Tartu. Really is a bit of a stonker. I happen to know it's not opening until 12 o'clock today. Means 2 hours time, so yeah, I think I'll have to move on. Okay, I'm reluctant to move on, but I shall. And I think right next door, what we've got is the Tartu University Natural History Museum. If you're interested in that, you can't miss it because it's so close to St. Paul's Church. And big museum anyway, big building housing the museum. So definitely you can't go astray if you're looking for that natural history museum. Not my cup of tea. Stuffed animals, you know, and well, the geology section's usually interesting, I should say, with you know, all the stones, all the different rock formations and such like. But no, not unless it starts raining. and I think it's been raining earlier here in Tartu. Sunny days forecast, actually, and it looks as though the sun's trying to break through, so we should be in luck. What we've got coming up, I can hardly call it an attraction, but I'll mention it anyway. For those of you travelling in Eastern Europe, particularly in the Baltics, you'll already be aware of the fact that in numerous locations there are remnants of the old Soviet days. The evil empire had its secret police, the KGB, and their interrogation torture cells, prison cells, and even murder cells. Yes, sadly, that was a part of history we can't easily forget, particularly those people who lived through it or their families lived through it. These days, in many of the cities such as Vilnius and here in Tartu and many other locations, the KGB cells have been turned over to museums. And it's one of those awkward situations, just as a human being, where you feel, on some level, I'm glad I went into the KGB cells in Vilnius some years ago. They were strongly recommended in the hostel I was staying at by so many guests were coming back at the end of each day saying what an experience it was. So I forced myself to go along, being a bit squeamish. It wasn't really something I would normally do. Paid the little extra for an audio guide, which was absolutely essential. And yeah, very, very chilling. Not wishing to bring you down at all, but yeah, when you're in a place like that and you're standing in a room where such atrocities have taken place, it's going to get to just about all of us, isn't it? So, yeah, the KGB cells. I can't recommend them, and yet it's an experience if you do choose to go into that type of museum somewhere. You'll probably only want to do it once, like I did. I shan't be repeating that again here in Tartu. But I think it's €5, approximately, if you're inclined to be a witness to some of the evil that happened in history here.